All right, I call the meeting for February 13th, 2019 to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Jay Fisher, absent. Richard Flint.
Here.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Swistek.
Here.
Laurie Wayne, absent.
All right, the next item on the agenda is opportunities for visitors to speak. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. If you could just go to the microphone and just go ahead and speak. So is anybody interested in speaking? Nobody? Nobody? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any questions or any changes to the consent agenda? Does anybody have any changes or questions?
Could I pull out a few? Consent agenda includes the authorization to pay bills, correct?
Correct, it's 3A, B, and C.
Could I pull out a couple of bills just for discussion?
Sure. Do you just want to maybe, would it be simpler just to pull that one, item C, and we'll just vote on A and B, and then we'll
That might be
maybe
easier.
just, that might be quicker. So can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 3A and 3B?
So moved.
Motion, a second?
Second.
Second. Do we take roll call, Chris, or all I? We'll take a roll call.
Yeah. Liz Sullivan.
Yes.
Emily Swistek.
Aye.
Laurie Wayne.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Richard Flint.
Nay.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye.
Point of order, why was there no discussion on that motion?
She has the right to pull the agenda item.
Why was there no discussion on that motion?
Which one? 3A
The
and B?
motion we just voted on.
With 3A and 3B?
Why was there no discussion on that motion?
I asked, is there a question? Or a comment?
When you make a motion and have a second, before you call the vote, you have to allow the opportunity for discussion.
All right. Okay, so do we have a discussion on 3A and 3B?
Too late, motion
All right,
passed.
fine, 3C. Any, what's your question or comment on 3C? On the authorization of bills?
Okay, I have got a lot of notes in here, so if you'll just bear with me. Okay, just a quick question. I'm on page 23 of the packet. And I'm going to demonstrate my ignorance here. I see that there's a total for Garvey office products. I'm just not familiar with them, and I just need reassurance that we shop around for the best prices.
We do. We've used we've used Staples before, but Garvey's has provided the best service as well as the timeliness of delivery and pricing.
Okay, that was just a question on that. And on page 24, and I don't mean any disrespect to Trustee Flint or Fisher, but I'm wondering, I think the dues that we're paying, which is a little bit, it's under Illinois Library Association, is there a way to pay for just several months of dues, because both of those individuals have chosen not to run for re-election? And then can we pay a partial year maybe?
No, it is part of a annual subscription to ILA. They're still board members until the end of their term, so.
Okay. I'm just wondering, in the future, should we make board members coterminous, or can we even make board members their subscriptions or their memberships coterminous with the last month that they would serve, so that if, you know, we could renew it with whoever decides to run for the board at that time?
I'm not sure ILA would work that out. I mean, I can look into it.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
Those were just the two questions that I had.
Any other questions or item 3C for authorization of bills, payment of bills? If not, can I get a motion for item 3C, authorization of payment of bills? Motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda item 3C, authorized payment of bills.
A second.
I second.
Second. Any discussion? The only thing I'll add is there were two big bills on there that I'm sure you guys might have saw was Procoli elevator and the Johnson control, which were, it's also for the, in regards to the elevator. And then the landscaping charge was high this month because of the snow removal, ice removal. Well, I think, anybody else have any questions or discussion on 3C? Roll call.
Emily Swissack.
Aye.
Long Wang.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Richard Flynn.
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is the director's report. I would ask the trustees just to let her finish her report, and we'll hold the questions to the end, and then we'll have question and discussion.
Thank you. So last month, I began my report with a completion date for our elevator project, that being January 31st. We beat that date by a few days. I think we even beat the date by a week. So I'm happy to say that it is working. Our patrons and our staff are very pleased. I'm very happy. Beth has more detail in her report, so I'll leave that for her. On January 18th, I attended the visitation for Miss Barbara Roque, who passed away on January 13th. Ms. Roque was one of the founders of the library district. She was a library trustee for 30 years. Also an organizer of the Lisle Women's Club. She's definitely a mover and shaker here in town. And on a personal note, I met Barbara within days of starting my career here at the library. She was an avid reader, a wonderful communicator, just an all-around positive woman. She always had ideas and suggestions for the library, and it was really important for her to provide library services to the entire community. So she will be very, very deeply missed. Her family asked that in lieu of funeral flowers, that the donations be made to the library. So yes, we've received some donations. Very nice. And I actually spoke with Barbara's daughter a couple of days ago, and a few people actually sent her the donations for the library, so she and I will be meeting very soon. All donations will be put towards books, book purchases in memory of Barbara. The books will have book plates inside the book cover in tribute to her. So I also wanted to mention, we've experienced a number of people passing, a number of founders within the past 5 years. We've had very strong women in our community pass away who really established this library. Ms. Kwitzel, Ms. Fritzma, and most recently Barbara Roque. So basically, they've essentially built this library. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to honor these women who've sacrificed their time and their energy to really ensure that the library is at its best. So what I'd like to do is have a program in April during National Library Week celebrating these women. I've spoken with the Women's Club president, and so we're working on a plan to have something, so I'll keep you all apprised. Next on my list is the president and I attended the intergovernmental meeting on January 10th. These meetings are informal gatherings, mostly of the government directors like myself. Occasionally the board president will attend as well. It's kind of a mixed bag, and we just share like the latest highlights from each agency. My report provides a brief synopsis of the discussion topics, and if there are questions, I'd recommend that you reach out to the respective agency, because I don't want to speak on behalf of the organizations, but there are some interesting highlights in my report. There's a lot going on in Lisle. As far as trustee elections go, on January 29th, the DuPage County Clerk of Election Division, that's their new name I think, notified the library that the final objection hearing was held and that it was overruled. So as of this report, the library has 8 candidates running for 4 trustee seats, and the election will be held on April 2nd. I also attended the Joint Review Board at Village Hall on February 1st. The Village of Lisle is required to hold an annual JRB meeting that involves all three Lisle TIF districts, those being Navistar, UTI, and the downtown Lisle TIF. Taxing districts and a public participant are members of the JRB, and the JRB hears the reports as presented by the financial services consultant as employed by the village, and they basically just document the revenues, the fund balances, and the TIF agreements. As of now, the Navistar TIF, which was started in 2010, has about $687,000 in their fund. UTI has $468,000, give or take a few, and the downtown TIF has about $8,000 in their fund balance. This is my binder from all the meetings I've attended, and there are some documents here. Originally they came on CD, so I have one copy, but I can provide the board on the most recent copies of the reports if you'd like.
Yes,
Something
please.
you'd be interested in?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do so by the end of this week. How's that? Okay. And then this month in the statistics highlight portion of our report, I featured one of the digital resources we subscribe to, and that's eMedia Library. So obviously accessing digital content is important to our patrons, as evidenced by our digital media statistics. So I thought highlighting this resource was important, especially since we've had some commentary regarding this particular platform. eMedia Library is an online platform. It's a consortium comprised of 24 local libraries. It's powered by Overdrive, which is a content distribution service that features audiobooks and ebooks. Both Overdrive and Hoopla is our other digital platform. They offer different authors, content creators, publishers, and they also have different checkout capabilities. So Overdrive, which is part of eMedia Library, does have some circulation limitations. And because this issue, again, has been raised a number of times at meetings and via other communications, I wanted to address some of those challenges that we face here at the library in the report, and I do so. I won't detail all of that because it's a kind of a long piece here, but my report does explain that the public library faces unique hurdles as opposed to, say, John Smith purchasing an ebook as an individual consumer. It's an important factor to remember when we critique the user experience, such as like wait periods. And long wait periods are one of the main challenges we have, and especially for popular titles. So I just wanted to mention that we are not alone in this long wait period kind of problem. Even neighboring libraries, larger communities that spend upwards of $300,000 on Overdrive alone, they too have very long wait periods that mirror what we are experiencing now. So we checked, we called a number of libraries, talked about their specific experiences with Overdrive, and they are having the same issues. So how do we remedy this? We have connected with Overdrive and the administrators to the platform in our consortium, and they've developed a special report that we can use to try and work with the holds issue. Obviously, this will have a cost for us because we will probably have to increase that line, but that's okay. We're investigating this. We're also looking at other options. We're looking at other consortia. We're looking at other public platforms that sell to libraries. We're looking at being a standalone and not part of a consortia. So Overdrive offers a model for standalone libraries and just serving your own patrons without being part of this group. That's very expensive, we've learned, but that's an option. So right now what we're doing is kind of divvying the responsibilities among staff to use these new reports. We're going to be projecting for probably account line increases in the upcoming budget, but we're on this issue. I just wanted to make you all aware. It's going to take a little longer to hammer out the costs and options for improvement, but we're on it. In the report, I also provided like a little snapshot of 2018 with Overdrive, and so you can see that our numbers, despite the wait time issue, are increasing, so that's even more incentive to correct the situation we have with Overdrive. A quick sip of water.
So Tatiana, what is the kind of timeline on this? What do you expect? You come back with some proposal to the board?
Probably at the next board meeting,
board
at the
meeting.
budget discussions.
So, because when I look at the statistics that looks like, yeah, as you said, despite the long wait time, we got 36% increase year over year.
Yeah, it's still
So
increasing.
it is very popular. I think we definitely need to, as we talk about how we're going to try to shift our resources, it means more money, but then we drive more borrowing activities. That's something that we need to kind of take a look at as a board. Another piece is, as we kind of try to work on some future proposals, is about communication of expectation to the borrowers, right? So I think if you do this, it's going to be 3 weeks wait. So at least you have that level of expectation versus kind of trying to come and say why you're not very happy with current the wait periods. And part about expectation, I think, and communication better to the patrons, say we're working on this and here's your expected time of wait, right?
Right, and again, it's not unique to us. And I'll just wrap up with 2 extra mentions that aren't in my report. I did want to correct the record regarding a comment made during last month's public comment period. A member of the public mentioned that the library reported that we had 150 people in this meeting room during a program and that we were violating the fire code. The number mentioned was correct, but it was out of context. What was expressed by library staff was that we had a 3-hour event and that 100 people participated in the event over a 3-hour period. So yes, the event was held in this room, and actually in this room and the adjacent room, and we did have 100 people in and out, but it was over a 3-hour period. So I just wanted to alleviate any concerns about code violations or capacity, but it was a great event. And then lastly, a very cool mention, we have a TV personality amongst us. He's sitting over there in the corner there. On February 4th, Will Savage, Youth Services Director, along with representatives from the DuPage Children's Museum and Naperville Public Library, appeared on NC-TV 17, that's the Naperville Community Television Channel, to talk about Naperville 203's Early Childhood Collaborative. This collaborative supports outreach efforts to meet the needs of our youngest patrons between birth and 3, and the Lisle Library District does serve 203 students and pre-students, so having Will be a part of that collaborative was very important, and he did a great job. So check it out. It's on YouTube under NCTV 17. Very good. That's my report.
Any other questions or comments in regards to the director's report? Yeah. Mark.
Tatiana, on the Joint Review Board,
Yes.
you mentioned the 3 Lisle TIF districts and fund balances. What are their fund balances? I mean, is that, I'm not up on that.
What are
When
they?
you gave the amounts,
All right.
so,
There's detail in here
Okay,
that can be better
okay.
explained that way. It is complex.
okay,
And actually, I might even refer you to their consultant.
okay.
Far more complex than I could explain here.
I haven't heard that term, so I wanted to ask. I mean, I've been to a few of the village meetings when they've discussed the TIFs, but fund balances, I haven't heard that.
The revenues, the balances, everything's in
Revenue,
there.
okay.
I'll provide you all with that information.
That's
And-
interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I had one more question, but
But
you-
just on point, I FOIA'd that report, and they said her report doesn't exist. I FOIA'd it from the village, because they're the ones that run this meeting and hire the consultant, and they said, oh, we don't have a report.
It may not have been available at the time you FOIA.
I FOIA'd it today, and they got back to me like that. Oh, well, we don't have a report. So if you can provide the report, and somehow they miraculously cannot, that would be
well,
nice.
depends how long it is, Tatiana, if it's, volumes.
You don't want to
I'm not going to read it.
So-
It's just a question.
Thank you for getting stuff that nobody else can.
One more question. You probably can't answer it. You mentioned the overdrive standalone plan, and you said it was very expensive. Do we have a ballpark?
Not for us yet,
Okay.
but I'll say one of our neighboring libraries, who is much larger, spends about $350,000
A year?
just on
Or is that a
overdrive.
purchase? Is that a one-time purchase? Is that,
It's whatever their patrons want, and I think they budget that amount,
okay. All right, thank you.
and that's strictly just for overdrive, not like overdrive plus Hoopla plus any other digital platform.
Okay, thank you.
What do we spend on overdrive today?
I would have to do the math, but we spent probably close to $50,000.
And have we ever considered trying to work a deal? And I think I brought this up a couple of times. You know, I think you're referring to Naperville does the 350,000. Is there any way, and again, this would take flexibility on their part, on Overdrive's part, is there any way that we can piggyback on what Naperville's doing and kind of make a consortium of two?
I don't know if they're willing, and I would have to think about how that would work in terms of a consortium of us two with them, because I know that Naperville experiences the same wait times as we do.
See, that's not true, because I will go into both systems and I will get a book, and I'm reading books for book clubs. And, you know, I'll get it from Naperville.
Well, it depends on the book you choose.
Right, but what I'm saying in general, I have been able to get it from Naperville. I mean, I've waited over a year to get one from Lisle.
I understand, and that was hopefully explained in my report. But I'll tell you this, your experience is your experience, and we've spoken to a number of, and not just Naperville Library, but a number of administrators of the platform via Naperville staff, and they receive a lot of feedback regarding long wait periods from their patrons.
Is there any way that we can determine what our average wait time is, our average
That's
hold
what
time?
those new reports will show.
Okay. And also maybe our maximum hold time?
Yes.
So,
That's what we're looking into right now.
okay, that'd be wonderful. And then on page 45, I didn't understand the paragraph, the first, second, third, fourth. Looks like the fifth paragraph where it says the consortium opted not to pursue this choice because patrons would no longer be able to see a title as soon as the first copy expired online.
It's a little convoluted. It's actually a database programming, I won't call it a glitch, but it's a programming issue.
Okay.
And if you turn on this auto weed, it will just, as soon as the first person, even if you have multiple copies, as soon as the first person is done with that copy and returns it, it no longer shows itself to other patrons. So you searching for it, you could probably search for it, but it wouldn't show itself. If you would have to go in and actually manually type in a title and then it may show. That's my understanding. It is a programming issue. Most libraries do not turn this feature on because of that problem.
Okay,
And again,
I'm not gonna try and understand that. I'll just, know that you're taking care of it.
We're going to try to
Okay.
improve the user experience on the platform we have. We're looking at other options. I know you had mentioned Audible. They don't sell to public libraries. So we're looking at other vendors to try and
Cool.
solve this. So.
Cool, thank you. And I had another question. The intergovernmental meetings.
Yes.
I know some trustees of other boards who are attending, either with the president and I think who's ever the head of the staff there. So I was wondering if we could get a list of those in terms of, what are they, quarterly?
Yeah.
If we could get a list of dates and times and locations.
Well, the data is made at the meeting, so there's no like year-long list or schedule. And again, they're informal meetings. I'll have to say that I'm not actually sure when elected officials started attending these meetings, and frankly, I think they really should be, since they're not public meetings. They really should be for the directors of the agencies. I'd be happy to present the idea of having a public meeting where we would have to publicly post that these meetings are open.
Who runs this? Is that Pam Allman over at the
No.
district?
No, it's all of the directors of the agency. So, me, Dan Garvey, Eric Erdmode, different directors of the governmental bodies. And not all presidents or elected officials attend, it's kind of, like I mentioned, it's a mixed bag.
Okay. If, trustees don't only go to public meetings. I mean, trustees go to other events as well. And I would like to go to this one so that I have a feeling and a handle on what else is going on in other areas. And, if I need to, I know both Eric and Dan, so if I need to go to them to get the schedule, because was the next one already planned?
Actually, I mean, I wouldn't go to the other members. You should probably talk to Jay, who's the board president, because he's the one I go with. And so if there were to be any other board members there, I think you should talk to him.
They don't, like she said, there's not a set schedule. They do meet quarterly. I only been to one because Jay couldn't make it the one time. I actually kind of agree. I don't know if the stat or elected officials should go. I mean, it's really not that much information. I mean, pretty much what we have in our minutes is pretty accurate, and it's probably what you guys spend, maybe 2-3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes tops.
A piece? It depends.
Piece, yeah. And I know the one I was at, there wasn't a school board member. Only like maybe half of them had members, and I think actually even a couple of the directors weren't there for the respective
Some don't
agencies.
come, some do.
Yeah.
I think originally it was meant to introduce,
Yeah.
face to face, and because we're all busy people, and just get to know each other and talk about what's happening in our spaces.
What I would like to see, if anything, is maybe let the staff have their meeting, but maybe have maybe possibly board direction, because I would like to see maybe a little bit more meatier conversations, like as far as maybe some type of intergovernmental cooperation. Again, this is only based off of the one meeting I ever attended.
But I think those should then be public meetings.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, no, they should. I think they should. I know Downers Grove does, I want to say one a year that they do public, like all the governing bodies, or at least once every 2 years.
So how do they set up agenda? Is that more of a just casual talk, or you actually
We don't have an agenda.
for-
I mean, that's why I'm saying this is an informal gathering of basically agency directors, and occasionally a board president will come, or another board member, and I guarantee every time we have these meetings, there's people missing from this in terms of board members.
Yeah, because we talk about, as part of the strategic plan, one of the areas we talk about is increase the kind of intergovernmental collaboration or with other private entities. I'm just wondering what's a good forum for us to do that.
You would have to, I would recommend having a public meeting, like Tom mentioned, like maybe once or twice a year.
Okay.
And I understand that, and I could see where a public meeting would be good to update the public, but I guess I'm frustrated because I am a trustee who wants to learn more about not only what we do, but what these other organizations do. It's very hard for me as a trustee to go to every single board meeting or to read, their 100-page packages. If I could go and just get the highlights, it would make me a better trustee. And I'm frustrated because I'm offering to be more involved, not less. And to be honest, I feel like I'm getting shut down here. So, I don't understand. Who cares if another trustee goes? I mean,
Well, I would just discuss it with Jay.
okay, do you have the date so I don't want to discuss it with him if I,
I believe it's April. I don't have the date right now.
okay,
can provide that to you.
if you could send that to me.
I can do
I'd
that.
appreciate it.
Any more questions, comments on the director's report? All right, moving along, we will go to the assistant director's report.
Okay, this past month, the event team worked on Harry Potter Day, very popular last year, so we're trying again to make it just as popular for this year. It's Saturday, March 9th from 1 to 3, And the day's events are going to have a game of remote control Quidditch, a visit to Diagon Alley with crafts and snacks, and a chance to venture into the forbidden forest of spiders and lizards. And we're also working on a new Harry Potter themed scavenger hunt. And staff are all looking forward to this, so we're in the process of making sure that we have full staffing for that day. On Monday, January 28th, the staff detected natural gas odors in the west mechanical room, and NICOR, our gas company, was called, and they arrived promptly within minutes. The technician found that a shutoff valve for the gas line had a leak. He was able to assess the situation, told us we didn't have to clear the building. He tightened the valve, and he also recommended that 3 older shutoff valves in that mechanical room be changed out. And that work was completed yesterday, and we have upgraded valves that use bearings rather than a lubricant for the inside of the valve. During the extreme cold weather, we consulted with our HVAC company, and we changed our overnight settings for the heating system to maintain temperatures during the cold weather. And the temperatures were normal then when we did open for operation and stayed that way, so we think that that change was a success for that short period. And I just wanted to mention that staff coordinated the closing of the library due to severe weather by preparing notifications for social media. We had signs, we changed our phones and our website. We also consulted with the Village of Lisle and the Lisle Police Department to let them know that we were closing. As Tatiana mentioned, Coley Elevator, we began that modernization process on January 2nd, and we did complete the actual work on January 18th. Then the Village of Lisle's inspection firm did their work on January 23rd, and we received our inspection certificate on January 29th. And patrons and staff were able to use the elevator the same day. So Johnson Controls was doing the fire safety work that had some connection to the elevator, and that was completed on January 21st. There was testing of the fire safety equipment was tested by the village inspector on February 27th. The inspection noted there's several areas for Johnson Controls to improve, such as changing some batteries that the inspection noted that they would prefer. And again, that goes in the fire panel and some documentation that would stay at the fire panel. And these improvements relate to the fire safety panel, not to the elevator. And Johnson Controls will do that work, and then again with the village inspector, we'll be back out to see it. That's it.
Any questions or comment, Liz?
I'm thinking that since the library is listed with the County of DuPage as a warming center, and the warming centers are most beneficial to people who don't have phones, social media, computer, internet access. And if we're going to close when it's cold, then I believe we should take our name off the list carried by the DuPage County. Because then we're not operating, in my opinion, as a warming center. Because it's people who are down on their luck, people who, maybe are homeless permanently or temporarily, or can't afford all these media contacts that need us the most.
Well, my understanding is DuPage County has like 2 designations. One is a warming center, which we are, and the second one is a warming shelter. We're not a shelter, by their definition.
And also on the site that you're mentioning, in 2 different places, it does ask anyone who's reading this information to call to ensure that the facility is open. So anyone who would be reading that we're a warming center, will also see that information.
Not necessarily so, because when I volunteered at Loaves and Fishes, we printed out who were warming centers. And the definition at that time was on DuPage's website, is these places will be open. You cannot stay overnight, but they will be opened. So I'm concerned, I mean, I would prefer we just take our name off the list because, you know, honestly, when it's 20 degrees out, you can find a lot of places to stay or to warm up. When it gets below zero, when these people really need us, you know, at that time, they're not going to be calling, going on websites.
Shelters will call, and actually DuPage Chris called us too, to verify the information. We also contacted the police department. Rails closed delivery, our system. Mail delivery did not happen on that day. I mean, we rarely close our doors, but we took direction from the village, the police department, a number of...
So if I go over to the police department, Chief Anderson is going to tell me that he directed the library.
No, he did not direct us, but it was recommended that people allow the first responders, you know, if you don't have to be on the road, don't be on the road. So that allows first responders to attend to emergencies. I mean, that was all over the news.
Totally understand. These people probably don't have TVs either. I mean, I'm going to let it drop. I'm just saying I'm not very happy with, you know, we either should be on it and say that we're there.
PADS is aware. They know that we are open when we can be open. So PADS was alerted. I mean, we do all we can to reach out and allow.
Okay, I'm going to look for exactly, because what I read didn't say we are open when we can be open.
DuPage Chris, CRIS.
Oh, I've been to their website.
Did you guys have a sign up though the day before that we were not going to be open?
We contacted people the day before because we anticipated it. Every other library closed at 5 p.m. the day before. We stayed open till 9 to ensure that we could get the word out, have signage up, and then call people. So I think we made the right call. The president and I made the determination. We called a number of, staff and I called a number of other organizations. I know Beth did too. And I think we made the right call that day.
But PADS was informed too.
Yeah. And DuPage Chris called us.
The page was.
Community Resource Information
Information.
Service, something.
Anybody else with questions or comments for the assistant director?
Yeah, I don't know if it should go to the director or the assistant director. I would recommend that we do not post pictures of men who don't have shirts on and say, you know, whatever the title was, where's my shirt? I just think that that's sexist. So I would recommend we stay away from that.
The post I think she's referring to is a display post of romance titles that we have. And if you've ever walked by our paperback romance titles, they're kind of tongue-in-cheek. I think the publishers play with that now, but it's a grin towards a Valentine's display.
My recommendation is to avoid a post like that. I think we could put ourselves into bad feelings in the community by taking advantage of sexist photographs.
Well, all of the feedback we've received has been very positive.
And I don't think the people who are mad are going to you. I think they're coming to me.
Oh.
And I think when I ask, can I share your name, they say no. And they go on and they list out for me all the other things that are wrong with the library. Which all the other ones I can say, have you tried this? Did you know this? This one I have no answer to. So
Well, if they're comfortable talking to you, you can direct them to me and I can have
they
a conversation.
won't talk to you.
Okay.
One of them is a consultant in the library community. And she's like, nope, not gonna do that. They can sink or swim on their own. All I'm saying is that I want to go on record as a trustee. I don't like it, I think it's inappropriate. That's all I say.
Any else good questions or comments? I have a couple.
No.
Just going back to the bottom of the report with Johnson's Controls, was that like a new piece that they had to replace that the village said, was it?
The batteries?
Yeah,
There's batteries in there. He would prefer a different type of battery, so they have to get them, put them
is
in.
there like any additional
They're
charge for
large.
that, or
No.
just replacement of that? And then on the Harry Potter event, that's like one of our bigger events of the
Well,
year.
it was our inaugural event last year, so
Yeah.
this will be our second, and it was
Yeah.
huge. It was hugely popular. We did not anticipate as many people as we had. It was library-wide, so it was not just in this room, it's all across the library. It was wonderful.
Anything else? Nope. All right, committee reports is next. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee, I think we're planning to meet on the 25th, right, at 6 PM?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so I'm going to be working with Tatiana on the agenda,
What was the date and time?
February 25th at 6 PM.
Monday.
All right, next is Personnel Policy.
We meet 6 days from today, Tuesday, at 7 PM.
All right.
What's the date, please?
The 19th?
19th.
That'd be 16th.
17?
19th.
19th.
And then for physical plant, we had a meeting on January 16th. We had a pretty healthy discussion. We had a discussion on the HVAC project, on the various components, including ductwork and reconfiguration of the administration area, and possible replacement of smoke detectors for the air handlers. Which I thought was kind of interesting, we had a stormwater report and presentation. We were shown the 2 video clips showing the stormwater pipes located in 2 areas on the campus. Kind of got some, we discussed like the pipelining and water flow restrictors and the report for priority for repairs. We also mentioned that policy 705 should be reviewed and updated for any major construction work that needs to be done on the property. We discussed keyless entry, about any of a project on that, and how much that would cost to install. We directed the staff to move forward with contacting vendors for quotes. The other thing we discussed was universal design for restrooms. We want to investigate how much it would cost to modify the 2 restroom sink counters near the entrances, making them more accessible for wheelchair users and children. We would like to adjust the sink height and move the faucets forward and enable the mirrors. We also directed the staff to get quotes. We are going to meet on March 6th at 7 p.m. The staff will be gathering information on those projects we discussed, and also we are going to maybe discuss about looking for a vendor to perform a building and campus life expectancy assessment. So, anything the other committee members want to add to that?
I think you covered it all. Marjorie, is there anything we missed, do you think?
Well, I have a lot of notes here, and I'm, pretty much covers it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think we missed anything.
Okay. Any questions and comments in regards to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tom, I think, a couple months ago, I think Beth shared a list of the capital minor improvement projects. I'm thinking it would be nice in the future updates against that list and talk about what we have achieved or what we have deferred or what we're not going to do going forward.
Correct.
So I think that'll be good in terms of prioritization.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
don't know if you want to, so I know we were talking about that list a little bit, and what wasn't on that list originally was the elevator, was not the elevator project, so that was like an added thing. But yes, we are still cognizant of that list.
And we can bring it up at the next
We'll-
meeting.
Okay,
Exactly.
that'll be great.
Updated.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I did have a question, and it's something that I brought up last time, so if I'm not making myself clear, please let me know. I'm very concerned when, space is a big issue here, and I'm very concerned that when we said, okay, that the Friends could order the shelves and put them in, that we didn't consider maximizing space by insisting that those shelves be on wheels. Because if they're gonna put books on shelves, you're gonna preserve that 2.5 to 3 feet that's a walkway. Whereas they're gonna have books on shelves that they don't need to access every day. And if we had shelves on wheels, what you do is you just push them up against each other, and thereby you eliminate several of the walkway spaces. And my concern, frankly, is some of us have walked around and we don't feel that there's enough, say, space in some of the areas that employees work. So if we're going to end up with a redesign of our current space, I want to make sure that everything that we're doing is very, very space efficient. And I know the last time we were at the board meeting, I brought this up, didn't gain any traction, but you know, I think the Friends are a great thing to have. I want to do as much as we can with them. But I think we have a right as the library to tell them what's acceptable in our space.
And I think the director, when they brought those in to tell them, I mean, we may need that space eventually, so I think they are aware that they may have to move those, or, I mean, they may have to relocate some of that stuff in the future.
Does that solve the problem, though?
Well, no, I mean, but I think that...
Where are they going to relocate it to?
Well, I mean, that would be when we get to that, cross that bridge, but I mean, I agree with you that the wheel shelves would have been more efficient.
Have they unpacked them? Have they put them up? Because the last time that we talked, they had been delivered, they had not unpacked them, they had not put them up.
Okay, so I'll answer a few of your questions. So the first question you had for me is, do they have wheels? They do not. They have not been unpacked because we have not, I don't think we've seen them working in the building in the past month. It's been cold, it's been, you know, I don't know what their availability is, but we will be connecting with them. Our staff have to adjust some things because, and just back to the space allocation, we're not allocating any more space for this shelving than they already are using, and frankly, I think it will save some space, the shelves that they've purchased, because they go a little bit higher than the shelves that they're currently utilizing. There's also some shelving that is kind of sitting in the middle of that space that is completely, it's not efficient at all, that should be just trashed. So the shelves that were purchased, I think, are going to provide much more efficient use of the space that's back there. They're freestanding shelves. They can be broken down. They can be built up again. If we were to do something different in this footprint, they can be moved. They're not fixtures.
But what I'm hearing you say is we're totally inefficient in our storage space today. And I'm saying, here's a real efficient way. And that's putting things on wheels. I've done it on my basement. Every time I move something, I wheel it away and I look at what I need to look at. So you're saying we're not efficient today. Liz has brought up an efficient solution that could work, but we're happy because we're going to be more efficient. We're not maximizing our space efficiency. And to move them, we're going to have them dismantled. Now, even if we tell the Friends they have to dismantle them, I mean, I must be talking with two heads because this makes so much logical sense to me, and I can tell it's not getting resonance with anybody else.
I don't disagree with you, but it's their purchase too. It's not our purchase. I know what you're going to say about it's our space.
I've talked to a lot of other trustees who integrate and talk to their Friends. This is something that would be totally within the bounds of normal trustee board relationships, trustee Friends relationships. So I'm not going to buy that one.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to say anything else. I'll let it go.
Is Kathy the charge or is it Doug?
Doug is the president and Kathy's a trustee. And I've spoken to Kathy on it.
Okay.
You have spoken to Kathy on it?
Yes, I have.
On the wheels or the?
Not on the
no,
wheels,
that's
no.
Because, I mean, you basically,
They purchased these shawls before the wheels idea came up, and this is their purchase.
they purchased it, you told us about it at the last meeting. I brought up the idea that it's much more efficient to put shelves on wheels. And again, it died. I don't know if I'm talking with two heads on, I got no traction. So if we come to a point where it would have been nice to use extra space, when we take a look at how we're gonna use the space, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna bring it up to everybody right then and there and say, oh, well, we could have probably had an extra 2.5 or 5 feet or 6 feet, and you guys own that. Okay, so just, I'm gonna, maximizing efficiency space-wise must not be an issue here.
Anything else? Oh,
Another one.
yeah?
I'm wondering, I'm looking at all of our account balances. Do we have an idea of how much money we have to implement our strategic plan?
As far, well, is that in special reserve? Did you budget the consulting or was that? are you
No,
talking
no, no, I'm
about-
talking about, we created a strategic plan. How much money do we have to implement it? And the reason I'm asking is because I know that, you know, we said we were gonna run down or lower the balance in the corporate fund. It's still pretty high. We were gonna take a look at how do we eliminate, if possible, working cash fund, which is $400,000. So, you know, to me, if I take 3.2 million out of the special reserve, cut the corporate fund in half because I thought we were only going to keep 6 months instead of 1.5 years in there, and we now have 6.5 million in there. So if we took 4 million out of there and 0.4 out of working cash, because I thought you took it to do that just to see if there was a way we could legally get out of funding that or keeping the money in there, then it seems to me like we have 7.6 million to implement our strategic plan. Is
So-
that?
That's what the budget for?
No, I mean, the strategic plan has 4 focus areas. I mean, there are a lot of things in there that we don't have to budget for. Are you just specifically talking about the facility focus
No, I'm
area?
talking about, when I look at a strategic plan, I usually know how much money I have to work with to implement the plan. Like, you know, if my calculations are wrong, then I think we need to all come to what is the calculation.
Well, Liz, maybe just a couple things to clarify. So one is, we can probably have that as part of the discussion at the finance committee, is what is a minimum amount needed to run the day-to-day operation for the library, which we have the data, right? We got the history, it doesn't really change much in terms of the books, in terms of the materials we'll buy, in terms of the staff. So those, we can review that again. But then, so we can say this is how much minimum we need, and then what's the minimum balance according to our fund balance, say we have to keep as a library. Yes, and then what's the, in addition to that, what's left? I understand that part. But then when you talk about, that question is pretty broad, is we agreed we have a strategic plan, but then implementation of the strategic plan, that means what are the projects that supporting that? We haven't really got to, I don't think, that level yet. That's where, like Tom is probably the most concrete, because that's a physical committee that has a capital list already. We can take a look at, after the consultant give us a life expectancy kind of a assessment, we can have a schedule. So that would be consuming part of the, whatever the balance we're going to have. And then we have to think about the 4 areas, right, we talked about part of strategic plan. I think that's what we say our next step, maybe that's one of the agenda we need to talk about, is what is the implementation plan that I think a lot of we talk about chair, each of the chair and the finance, the personnel, the the technology and the physical committee would propose that supporting are the 4 areas of focus. I think we're still working that through, but clearly we can have that on the agenda, just talk through what is the minimum cash needed for the day-to-day operation here.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair request.
And another place that's going to probably be discussed will be at the budget hearing next month on March 13th, which is at 6 o'clock. So that'll be for next fiscal year budget.
And just a reminder that the strategic plan is a 3-year plan. So, I mean, if we could accomplish it all in 1 year, great, but we've kind of parsed it out in 3 years. So I think we would discuss that in committee, the whole meeting, every year.
So I mean, it's going to be discussed. I mean, like I said, we got the budget meeting next month. It's actually before the regular board meeting, correct?
An hour before.
And then the one thing I actually did forget is I know I did talk to the director about an IT plan, and I know she is working with the IT manager to develop an IT plan that corresponds to the strategic plan and the technology focus area. So the draft should come in the next couple of months?
Yeah, I
The
mean,
physical plan.
we're working on that IT plan, technology plan, and we can bring the draft to physical plan because some of that will be physically altering the building.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Alrighty. Next item on the agenda is the semi-annual review of executive session minutes. And also the review of executive session recordings more than 18 months old. We do need to go into executive session to discuss those 2 items. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
I move to go to executive
Can
session.
you read the citation,
Oh,
please?
okay. I move to go into executive session according to 5 ILSCS 120/2C21, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 206.
Got a motion, can I have a second?
I second.
A second. Roll call?
Lauren Marie Wang,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Richard Flint,
Nay.
Thomas Hummel,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swistek.
Aye.
Point of order, why was there no discussion on this motion?
If you wanted to, can I get a motion to reconsider make a motion to reconsider, so we can open it up again?
Okay, I
So
move,
just make a motion to reconsider. It's not-
okay, I move to reconsider.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Can I, all voice vote, motion to reconsider? All aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Can you reread the citation again, please?
I'll try. Okay, I make a motion, I move to move into executive session according to 5 ILSCS 120/2C21, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.06.
All right, got a motion to have a second?
I second.
Second, any discussion?
There's no need to go into executive session. None of the executive session recordings or minutes that we've accumulated is sufficiently private that we need to kick everybody out. In any case, the person chairing the meeting should say what the content is, not just read the citation.
Are they for just the closed session minutes of the last 6 months? And then the recordings of the last 18 months?
Yes.
It would be proper to remind those present and those watching what those meetings were.
Do we have a
We'll
list?
do that, we'll do that in executive session.
We'll do it.
No, we don't need to do an executive session.
But we have
We-
in the
we
past,
can-
and that's what we can do now.
As I understand it, well, I'm not chairing the meeting, but it would be good for people to know a little more detail on this. In any case, I'm going to vote no, because we don't need an executive session for this. We can do it, it could have been done by now.
Okay, roll call to go into executive session.
Okay. Richard Flint,
Nay.
Thomas Hummel,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swiftey.
Aye.
Lori Wang.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
All right, we are going into executive session. This shouldn't take long. For visitors, just please step out, and then we will come back and re-adjourn shortly after. So we are back in open session at 8:09 p.m. Can I get a motion to release the minutes of the August 8th, 2018 meeting? Close. Executive session meeting.
I'll make a motion.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go
Make a
ahead.
motion to approve the August 8th, 2018 executive session minutes.
I second.
Second. Roll call. Oh, sorry, any discussion on the minutes? Any discussion on item 8A?
If we're going to
Oh,
vote on releasing, we
Release.
should identify
Thank you,
which
Ben.
ones we're releasing.
We're just August 8th, 2018, the executive session minutes, just
Thank
the
you.
minutes, just the minutes.
Release.
Yeah, release those.
That's what you stated.
Yeah, it
You
was in the,
didn't change
it
it.
was in the
Okay.
It's in the
minutes. It was
motion.
in the motion.
Don't be changing it.
No.
Roll call.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Emily Swiftey.
Aye.
Lori Wang.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Richard Flint.
Aye.
Okay, then the next one is 8B, review, to release any recordings more than 18 months old. We are not going to be releasing anything, so if I could have a motion to keep all recordings more than 18 months old closed.
I move to retain, the executive session recording more than 18-month-old.
All right, motion and a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please, Chris.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Emily Swiftey.
Aye.
Lori Wang.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Richard Flint.
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye. All right, the last item on the agenda is for opportunity for trustee comments. We'll just go around the table. Liz, you want to go first?
Okay, I have a couple comments. Number one, I did the active shooter training, and it's something you can do online. I would highly recommend it. It gave me some perspective, such as we are one of the closest groups to the front door, and you have different, they instruct you to do things differently depending upon how close you are to a door, etc. So I learned a lot, and I think we should all do it. I know that staff has done it already. The other thing that I would like to see us do is to create some sort of foundation for the library. There are a lot of people in Lisle who are giving a lot of money to other organizations. And as a matter of fact, if you go over to the Park District, there's like a tree, and you get, your name on a leaf, and there's a lot of people giving money to them. So we need to get some of that. And I know a lot of people think that contributions are going down. They actually went up. I just did a highlight of contributions from both individuals and other organizations that we might consider that, since contributions are actually on the increase, that we would want to start a foundation for the library.
Okay, Emily, trustees Swiftey?
No comment today.
No comment? What?
We don't need two foundations. We already have one. Also, as regards to the intergovernmental, what Tatiana said is correct. There's really no standing rules about who can come and who can't. What I would recommend, though, is if you intend on coming, be very careful. Because although the intergovernmental group is not an official governmental group, it in itself is not subject to OMA or FOIA. If 3 trustees were to go, say Jay, Liz, and a third person, you 3 would be subject to OMA, and you could not discuss library business there. So just don't get sued. That's all.
All right. Marjorie, you want to go? Trustee Lee, you want to go next?
This is kind of, I mentioned already, just an hour ago about, I think Liz brought it up, about our strategic plan, right? So I think we spent a really good time on developing it. We have 4 areas of focus, but I think it's really about how we can start to crank it up and say what is our implementation plan. And we can leverage, of course, the existing committees we've already got. But in the meantime, I don't know what's more efficient where, like, we have kind of 7 trustees here. I mean, like each of us can take on some area as a lead person. It's not saying this person will decide on anything. At least this person would have areas of focus that they can help at least gather information, bring some proposal to the board. One area I think in our strategic plan that we want to do more comes back to kind of what related to what Liz talked about is how we can collaborate with other agencies or other entities or private entities as well. That we really come back to say this intergovernmental, but that's not the right forum. So do we have other forum that we can do it in a I would say more definitely within legal boundaries, right? But at the same time, create better opportunities than what we wouldn't have today. And right now, I think we'd have done a great job in terms of control the budget and while not reducing the services. But if they do have other grants or other funding source that could self-help, that would be great, because we do have some great plans we're outlining our strategic plan. So that's something just to consider, whether it's, we could, each one of us can take an area of focus and bring more energy around how we're going to implement our strategic plan. So.
Trustee Bartelli.
Just a couple comments on the Gallery 777 exhibit. Friday night was great function, well attended. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And also, I'd like to say thanks to the staff on the elevator repair. It's a long time coming. We had several outages, but considering that we started the project on January 2nd and completed it on January 29th, that's a great job. And thank you all, and very happy to see it done.
All right, then I'll go last. Going back to longer, and I guess Liz's comments in regards to the intergovernmental cooperation. I mean, it's something I would say probably each respective board needs to direct their staff. And I know I've talked to the mayor before on this, and actually the village manager, like at the car shows. So I know there's some interest in that, but I think it's just people need to get together, and that might be part of the thing where maybe board members need to step back and maybe with board direction, they'll give the staff, kind of try to collaborate with each other. In regards to that, one of the things I know is like consecutive days, and actually there was a third one shortly, like a week before. I know I got 2 newsletters. I got ours, the Lisle Library one, and then I got the Lisle District School District 202, and I've kind of been advocating this for years. Like, as long as it doesn't, we get our information on it, we're still getting our fair cut. I really think the various units of government should try to collaborate on one joint newsletter, as long as it doesn't, we don't lose any space and we get our 6 pages or whatever it is. And, because the people that are using the library are using the park district, they're using the schools a lot of times, especially with the kids and other units of government. So it's kind of, if you want to pull more people in, you're kind of drawing from the same crowd for the most part. So I think that helps to do that. And actually might, if it's that efficient, it actually might be able to pull up, instead of doing 4 a year, you might be able to increase it to 6 a year. So that's one thing. I know a staff member a couple months ago mentioned about transportation for people that have difficulty coming to the library. So I did talk to the township. I know Jay and I said, the township and the county do have ride programs. So I did get some information from the township a few weeks back in regards to Ride DuPage, that they do provide services. And I know that this is just the Ride DuPage program. I know there's some other services that they provide too, the county. So I think, there are services available for that, so I'll give you that if you want to make copies or maybe connect with the township and see what they, you know, if there's somehow, because I know they do it, and I think, I was talking to the assistant to the supervisor, I think they budget 100,000 a year. It's pretty sizable, I think, in their budget. I think it was like 100,000 a year, I think. He said they budgeted. So that is one thing. And like I said, there's also other services through the county as well. The other thing is I also did attend Barbara Roke's wake back in January. And I know that some of the people have donated in her memory. I know actually I got one question from somebody because they were asking like how would it be done, and I know I forwarded that email to you. It was somebody from the Women's Club. So I think that's all I have. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
A motion, a second?
I second.
Second.
Discussion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned at 8:20.
Sometimes I